Well, today I'm joined by Georgy Ugbomah, who is one of our student composers. It's very nice to see you, Georgie.
It's nice to see you, Paul. How are you?
Well, I'm very well. We meet on a weekly basis, don't we, for composition lessons.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And I've got to know you extremely well over that time. And in fact, we have discovered, I think it's fair to say, that learning composition over Zoom is actually quite successful.
Yes, there's some elements that make it quite easy.
I mean, it takes away the ordeal that we normally have of trying to find a room in the university where somebody isn't practicing an instrument and we have to move or whatever. And we can do it. And I'm surrounded by this lovely image here of your own music, one of your scores,
Iron, yes.
which you're going to be introducing later. What are you studying at Queen Mary?
I'm studying mechanical engineering and I'm in my second year currently.
Well, I know how important music is to you in every single way. But where did music begin for you?
It's quite a long story, but I'll try to keep it brief. I'm a self-taught pianist, so I always started by tinkling at the piano. It was a means of expression. So it started off like that, and then it kept developing, evolving, and growing. And as a pianist and a composer, I started to grow. And it's been a long journey, and still pending, still going on, but it's been an interesting one nonetheless.
So you started learning music by ear,
Yes,
and the written musical score is something that is relatively new to you. I think I'm right in saying.
yes,
So am I right that when you came to Queen Mary, you basically had to learn how to write and read and write music?
yes. To the level that I understand now, yes.
Absolutely. Well, you've done remarkably well, if I may say so. Um, the fact that music is important to you, just tell us a little bit about how you made music, perhaps throughout your school years.
How I made music was just literally by um, finding keys, harmonizing. So finding chords that sounded nice in succession and ones that didn't clash too often. So it was really like a searching process. So that when it comes to music, I do have an inbuilt facility for patience with it because of the time it took to kind of to get it all together.
You've become a very passionate composer, and I know how heartfelt your music is. Tell us a little bit about this journey of discovery in composition that you've had, and how it started, and how it's grown, and why you have a particular love of certain styles of music, and you develop the technique that you have.
Well, it all comes from listening. Listening is an imperative part of music and how it forms your musical taste. And so it was my influences. So romantic from the romantic period of music. So Chopin, Beethoven, Liszt. A lot of these composers really impacted my workflow and my creative space.
And your love of the orchestra is relatively new, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Now,
Uh,
it's been a real challenge, hasn't it? Because particularly the last year, you've been creating huge works or works for very large orchestras. With it's been impossible to even attend a concert. So, how have you discovered how the orchestra works?
through the help of you actually, and through guidance on with virtual libraries, virtual orchestra libraries, and through listening.
In effect, what we're going to be hearing, or what we're able to hear of the music, is music that you've created from pre-existing, not pre-existing music, but pre-existing recorded samples of
Yes,
instruments.
exactly.
And that is actually how a lot of film music and television music is played and realized, isn't it? I think people, when they're watching the television or watching a film, that they're anticipating that there's been an orchestra recording this in some studio, and it hasn't been done at all. It's been done at somebody's computer desk. Um, that's both exciting, isn't it? But it's also quite an isolated journey, isn't it, for any composer?
Yes, yes. It will be. I will live up to the day that everything opens up and we can actually have live performances. Because while these samples are great, they are very kind of cold in emotion compared to a real life orchestra.
You are able, though, through the modern technologies, to shape phrasing, to shape
Yes,
the way a note. So there is a level of detail, isn't there, that has to go into to this. You can't just input a note and it'll come out.
no, no.
You have to become an interpreter for every single instrument. Is that right?
Yes, it's quite a task, but it's a good one nonetheless.
Okay, so take us through the journey of writing a piece of music. Where does it all begin?
So with my kind of school, they start off with a piano school, so piano reduction, and then it kind of I tried to transcribe it and move some of the parts into the orchestra, the frame of the orchestra.
Because you give your works quite evocative titles. Do you think of a concept first, or does a theme or a sort of sense of harmony or a sound world emerge first and then a title come after?
It's like the chicken and the egg theory. So sometimes it's vice versa. Sometimes it's this, and sometimes it's the other way around. But mainly, I think the music comes first, and the title comes later.
I don't want to ask you how many hours you spend composing in case I undermine your department, but you do spend a lot of time composing, don't you?
Yes,
Um, it's not a question of hours per week. I think it's probably a question of days per week, isn't it?
yes.
Okay.
I'm like
So, so how important, with bearing that in mind, how important is music to you?
it's very integral. It's invaluable to me. It has no price. It's really a form of relaxation for me. Yeah, comfort.
What would a life without music be to you, or if you were denied the opportunity to be creative in your music making?
It will be denying myself really.
Okay, well, that's a profound comment. So, well, we're delighted that we can make sure that you are able to pursue your love of music. And where do you're obviously studying mechanical engineering. Where is music going to work in your life in the future? How do you see it being part of your career?
Well, for now, I'm keeping my options open. I'm taking it composition step by step, composition by composition. So I'm really open and really exploring my avenues.
Has there been a very special musical moment in your life that you treasure?
Yes, my music being played in the VNA for yeah, that was really the icing on the cake. It was really a moment that I'll take with me.
So that was when we had some of our music scholars and the members of the London Chamber Orchestra working together
Yes,
at a big launch. I think it was the Strategy launch, wasn't it, at the Victor and Albert Museum? Yes, I remember that indeed for all the very very lovely reasons, special events indeed. Um, you're going to introduce three pieces of your music. I know these works intimately because I've seen them literally grow from the initial sketches. But let's start with Iron. Tell us about Iron and what we should be listening to, and what you're trying to portray in this work.
I ain't like the title suggests is something with rigor, something really nitty and gritty.
Was there any composer that inspired the music and the sort of vigorous energy that you've got in this music?
Well, there's some sections are inspired by modern music, especially cinematic music.
I sense that, and yeah, I think you'd ultimately like to be a film composer, wouldn't you?
Yes, that would be a dream. Yes,
And your second work, Soleil Radieux. Tell us about that work.
it was really a love project. It was really um, I was really involved with that. It was something that really expressed what I felt in the inside. So
Yeah.
it's really an intimate part of myself that I'm expressing publicly.
Well, that's obviously something that composers do. Some things that they don't always admit to, they like to keep to themselves. But inevitably, every single work of a composer has something deep from their life inside it. And your final work, which is the largest and longest of them all, Equus. Tell us a little bit about that and where that began.
It started off as a piece called Horseback, and it was again something filmic inspired by a film scene of as the title suggests, being on a horse and the actions and emotions that come with that. But it kind of grew into this people into Equus. It grew into that piece, and the duration kind of increased. Everything can increase the scale, and I really wanted to get a kind of sweep emotion, sweep the listener off the feet with that piece.
Okay, well, it certainly does. Georgie, as ever, it's lovely to talk with you, learn about your music. I'm sure that people are going to enjoy very much your music. And you've created these films entirely yourself. We're using copyright-free images and copyright-free films that you can get access to. So what we're hearing is entirely your own work.
Yes.
From the moment in which you've created the ideas, the concept, and including the ways in which you've assembled these libraries of orchestral sounds together to create a virtual experience. But we're looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Georgie, for joining us.
Thank you.